Let me ask you a question. If success was only about hard work, why are so many of the hardest working people still broke, burned out, or stuck? You've seen it. People grinding every day, putting in the hours, showing up, sacrificing, yet year after year nothing really changes. Meanwhile, a small group, the top 1%, keeps rising. They earn more, grow faster, live freer, and seem to have unlocked a different reality altogether. What do they know that the rest of the world doesn't? Here's the truth most people never hear. The 1% don't just do more. They do different. They think differently. They make decisions on a completely different level. They move with clarity while others move with chaos. And it's not magic. It's not genetics. It's not even money. Not at first. It's a system, a mindset, a set of invisible rules they live by that no one ever teaches you. This book is your inside look into that world. No fluff, no cliches, just real, raw insights about how the top 1% approach life, work, relationships, risk, growth, wealth, and winning. We're going to unpack how they control their time and energy like it's currency, use leverage to multiply results, think 10 steps ahead, while others live day to day, build systems instead of relying on willpower, turn failure into fuel and fuel. Create freedom, not just income. This is not a book about motivation that fizzles out in a few hours. It's about transformation, mental, emotional, and practical. And by the time you reach the final chapter, you'll have a new lens to see the world through. One that will make it very hard to go back to your old way of thinking. So if you're tired of feeling like you're doing everything right, but still falling short, if you're done watching others win while you wonder what you're missing, if you're ready to step into the strategies and mindsets that actually move the needle, then you're exactly where you need to be. The gap between you and the 1%, it's not as big as you think. But the difference in thinking, that's everything. Let's unlock it, chapter by chapter. Welcome to the secret of the 1%. Subscribe to never miss a book like this one. Chapter 1. The illusion of luck. When you watch a billionaire like Jeff Bezos or Oprah Winfrey, it's easy to say, wow, they must be so lucky. After all, their success looks like a lightning strike. Instant, spectacular, and almost magical. But here's a secret the 1% know very well. Luck isn't magic. Luck is a byproduct of preparation, persistence, and perspective. Think about it. Oprah didn't wake up one day on top of a media empire by chance. She faced decades of rejection, hardship, and self-doubt. Bezos didn't stumble upon Amazon as a happy accident. He bet his entire life savings on an idea most people scoffed at, working tirelessly to grow it into a global powerhouse. The comforting lie of luck: most people cling to the idea of luck because it's easier than facing the truth. They were born into money. They knew the right people. They just got lucky. These stories let us off the hook. They give us a convenient excuse for why we haven't reached the success we desire. It's less painful to say, I wasn't lucky, than to admit, I haven't done the work. But here's the truth. The 1% don't leave their success to chance. They build systems, habits, and mindsets that create their own luck. They don't wait for opportunity. They engineer it. The story of Thomas Edison. Failure as a foundation. Consider Thomas Edison, one of history's greatest inventors. He famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Edison's journey wasn't luck. It was relentless persistence and learning from every setback. Each failure was data, a clue guiding him closer to success. If Edison had believed in luck, he might have given up after the first few tries. Instead, his mindset turned obstacles into opportunities, a hallmark of the 1%. How the 1% engineer luck. The 1% operate with what Malcolm Gladwell calls a cumulative advantage. It's the idea that small advantages, consistent effort, learning, networking compound over time. They show up every day, do the work, and create opportunities others don't see. For example, Consider Serena Williams. She didn't become one of the greatest tennis players by accident. Years of deliberate practice, mental toughness, and strategic coaching created a trajectory where luck played a tiny role compared to hard work. Luck favors the prepared mind, the famous quote attributed to Louis Pasteur. Chance favors the prepared mind, captures this perfectly. When you prepare yourself by gaining knowledge, sharpening skills, and building connections, you become a magnet for opportunity. Luck isn't about waiting, it's about readiness. The 1% aren't standing on the sidelines hoping for miracles. They're in the game, training, strategizing, and pushing forward. Breaking the cycle of luck excuses to join the 1%. You need to reject the luck excuse. That means taking full ownership of your journey. Stop blaming circumstances or others for where you are. Start focusing on what you can control: your actions, decisions, and mindset. Recognize that setbacks are lessons, not failures. Understand that consistent, intentional effort creates your own opportunities. A personal story. Meet Sarah. Imagine Sarah, a young woman who dreams of starting her own business. For years, she told herself, I just don't have the luck others have. Then one day, she decided to shift her thinking. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, Sarah started learning marketing skills, networking with other entrepreneurs, and testing small business ideas. Months later, she landed her first clients, not because of luck, but because she created opportunities through preparation and persistence. Your takeaway, if you want to unlock the secret of the 1%, start by throwing out the myth of luck. Replace it with the truth of consistent effort, strategic thinking, and mental toughness. You're not waiting for lightning to strike. You're building the storm. Chapter 2. The Power of Vision. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. The summit is shrouded in clouds, distant and mysterious. Without a clear vision of the peak, you might wander aimlessly, exhausted and frustrated, never reaching the top. But with a vivid image of the summit, a clear map, and a burning desire to get there, every step, no matter how hard, becomes purposeful. That's the power of vision. It's the magnetic force that pulls the 1% forward, even when the path is steep and the air is thin. What is vision really? Vision is more than a vague idea or wishful thinking. It's a clear, compelling picture of what your future can be. Steve Jobs once said, "People with passion can change the world for the better." But passion without vision is like a ship without a rudder. It moves, but it doesn't go anywhere meaningful. Vision answers the question, what am I building? Who do I want to become? Why am I willing to endure hard work and setbacks? Vision fuels persistence. J.K. Rowling's journey is a perfect example. Before Harry Potter became a worldwide phenomenon, Rowling was a struggling single mother, living on welfare and battling depression. But she had a vision, a magical story that could captivate the world. That vision gave her the strength to keep writing, despite dozens of rejections from publishers. Every no was a challenge, not a stop sign, because her vision was bigger than the obstacles. The 1% visualize the finish line, and the journey vision isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey. Elon Musk didn't just want to build electric cars. He wanted to revolutionize transportation and colonize Mars. That grand vision kept him up at night, fueled his teams, and inspired investors, even when Tesla and SpaceX faced near bankrupt. How to craft your vision: dream big, but get specific. Vague goals like, I want to be successful, won't pull you far enough. Instead, picture what success looks like in detail. What does your life feel like? What's your daily routine? What impact do you want to make? Connect emotionally. Vision must resonate deeply, emotionally and intellectually. It has to matter so much that you're willing to sacrifice comfort and convenience. Write it down and revisit. Often there's power in writing. Putting your vision on paper cements it in your mind and serves as a daily reminder. Vision creates clarity in chaos. Life throws distractions and setbacks at everyone. Without vision, it's easy to get lost and overwhelmed. The 1% use vision as a compass. When everything feels uncertain, They return to their vision to make decisions. Warren Buffett says he avoids any investment he doesn't fully understand or doesn't fit his long-term vision. That focus has made him one of the wealthiest investors ever. Vision inspires others. A powerful vision attracts allies, partners, and resources. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech is a landmark example. His vision of equality didn't just inspire him, it moved millions to action. A personal story. David's vision quest. David was stuck in a dead-end job, feeling uninspired and frustrated. One day, he decided to spend a weekend journaling about what he truly wanted. He imagined himself 5 years from now, healthier, happier, running his own business, helping others. That vision sparked a shift. David started taking classes, networking, and creating a side hustle. Every small win was fueled by the clear image of the future he was building. Vision anchors you in tough times. When motivation fades, vision keeps you moving. The 1% don't rely on fleeting feelings. They rely on their vision. They know that every step, no matter how small, is a brick in their future foundation. Your challenge today: carve out time to craft your vision. Write it, visualize it, feel it deeply. This vision will be your anchor and your fuel. Because without vision, effort is scattered and fleeting. With vision, effort becomes unstoppable. Chapter 3. Discipline over motivation. Imagine waking up on a freezing cold morning with zero motivation to get out of bed. The warmth of your blankets calls you back. The cozy comfort tempts you to stay. But you don't. You push yourself up anyway, lace your shoes, and start your run. This is the quiet power of discipline. While motivation is a spark, discipline is the steady flame that keeps you going when motivation fades. The 1% know this secret well. Success is not about waiting to feel motivated. It's about mastering discipline to keep moving forward regardless. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is constant. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny and inspiring. Sometimes it's stormy and absent. The 1% don't rely on these mood swings. They build systems to operate even when they don't feel like it. Take basketball legend Michael Jordan. He wasn't always inspired to train for hours each day, but he disciplined himself to show up, practice relentlessly, and push beyond discomfort. That commitment made him arguably the greatest player in history. The myth of feeling like it. Many people wait to feel like it before taking action. Whether it's starting a workout, writing a book, or launching a business, but feelings are unreliable guides. Discipline means choosing action despite how you feel. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says it well. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Systems are discipline made visible. Discipline becomes manageable when you build routines and systems. For example, instead of relying on motivation to write, create a habit of writing at the same time every day. No exceptions. J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter by sticking to a disciplined routine, even during tough times. Her discipline turned a dream into a global phenomenon. Real-life story. Maria's journey to consistency. Maria wanted to improve her health but struggled with motivation. She often started diets or workout plans but quit within weeks. One day, she decided to focus on discipline, not motivation. She set a simple rule: walk 15 minutes every morning, no matter what. At first, some days she dragged herself out of bed. Some days she was tired or busy, but she showed up daily. After a few months, that small discipline built momentum. Her health improved, and motivation followed as a result. How to cultivate discipline? Start small. Set achievable daily actions that don't overwhelm. Remove friction. Make it easy to do the right thing. Lay out your workout clothes the night before, or create a distraction-free workspace. Use accountability. Share your goals with a friend or coach who will check in. Track your progress. Small wins fuel continued effort. Discipline builds confidence. Every time you follow through, despite resistance, you prove to yourself you're reliable. This confidence compounds, making future challenges easier. The 1% build a reservoir of self-trust through daily discipline. Your challenge: identify one area where you rely too much on motivation. Replace it with discipline by setting a small, consistent habit starting today. Remember, motivation is a visitor. Discipline is your home. Chapter 4. Guarding your focus in a distracted world. In today's hyper-connected world, distractions are everywhere. From endless social media notifications to constant emails, your attention is under siege every minute. But the 1% understand that focus isn't just a skill, it's a superpower, and they guard it fiercely. The cost of distraction: imagine trying to read a book, but every few seconds, someone taps your shoulder. It's frustrating, exhausting, and nearly impossible to make progress. That's what distractions do to your brain. Research shows that after an interruption, it can take over 20 minutes to regain full focus. Multiply that across your workday, and you lose hours. For the 1%, this loss is unacceptable. They know every minute of undivided focus is an investment in their future. The story of Bill Gates. Think weeks. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, would retreat twice a year into think weeks. 2 weeks of solitude in a cabin, free from distractions, where he read, thought deeply, and planned the future. This intentional focus time helped him innovate and strategize at a level few others could match. Creating your focus fortress, the 1% build environments that protect their attention. They silence notifications. They block distracting websites. They design workspaces that minimize interruptions. Even the simplest change, like closing your office door, can create a boundary that signals focus time. The power of deep work. Cal Newport's concept of deep work highlights this perfectly. The ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks is rare and valuable. The 1% schedule deep work blocks, hours of uninterrupted time dedicated to their most important projects. Real-life example: Sarah's email overhaul. Sarah was drowning in emails, checking them every 10 minutes and losing hours daily. She decided to batch her email time, checking only twice a day and turning off notifications. Suddenly, her productivity soared. She reclaimed mental clarity and time for meaningful work. Practical focus strategies. Time blocking. Schedule your day in focused chunks with breaks in between. Single tasking. Focus on one task at a time instead of multitask. Mindfulness practice. Train your brain to notice distractions and return to focus. Set boundaries. Communicate your focus hours to colleagues and family. Focus is a muscle, just like a muscle. Focus strengthens with use. Start with short periods, gradually increasing as your brain adapts. Your challenge: identify your biggest distraction today and implement one focus protection strategy. Commit to at least one focused work session tomorrow. Chapter 5. Mastering the boring stuff. The hidden path to greatness. When you think of greatness, you probably imagine flashes of brilliance, big wins, or epic moments. But the 1% know the truth. Greatness is often built in the quiet, repetitive, and yes, boring moments no one sees. The myth of overnight success. We love stories of overnight success, overnight millionaires, instant celebrities. But those stories almost always hide years of unseen grind. Take J.K. Rowling again. Before Harry Potter became a global sensation, she spent countless hours writing in cafes, refining drafts, facing rejection after rejection. None of that was glamorous. It was monotonous, day after day. Why mastery lives in repetition? Mastery requires consistent practice of fundamental skills until they become second nature. Famous violinist Itzhak Perlman didn't get there by practicing only when inspired. He practiced relentlessly, honing every note and technique. The 1% embrace the grind instead of chasing excitement. The 1% double down on the basics. They wake up early to do the work nobody else wants to do. They invest time in sharpening their skills with deliberate practice. It's boring. It's hard. But it's the surest path to excellence. Real-life story. Carlos, the sales rep who became a leader. Carlos was an average sales rep. His secret: he committed to mastering the foundational skills: cold calling, follow-ups, and active listening, every single day. While others chase shiny new strategies, Carlos focused on getting better at the basics. Over time, his results exploded, and he became the team's top performer. How to master the boring. Identify the core skills. What are the essential skills in your craft? Create a practice schedule. Consistent, focused sessions trump sporadic bursts. Track progress. Use metrics or journals to see your improvements. Embrace patience. Understand mastery takes time. The secret advantage. While others seek shortcuts or hacks, the 1% build unshakable foundations. This creates a moat around their success, making it sustainable and scalable. Your takeaway: don't run from the boring parts. They're your ticket to lasting greatness. Commit to mastering the fundamentals today. Chapter 6. Relationships are the real currency. Behind every success story is a network, a mentor, a connector. An investor, a supporter, someone who opened a door, gave a crucial piece of advice, or made a call that changed everything. The 1% know that relationships are the real currency of success. Not just who you know, but how deeply you know them, how much trust you've built, and what value you've provided. The myth of going it alone. There's a seductive story in modern culture. The self-made man or woman, the lone genius, the solo hustler who beat the odds without help. But it's just that, a story. Behind every Elon Musk, there are teams, advisors, co-founders, mentors, and supporters. Behind every Oprah Winfrey, there's a network of producers, partners, and champions who believed in her mission. Success is rarely solo. The 1% understand that real leverage comes through people. The power of proximity. You've heard the phrase, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." It's more than a cliché. If you're constantly around people who settle, who complain, who avoid responsibility, you will absorb that energy. But surround yourself with ambitious, disciplined, forward-thinking people, and your standards rise automatically. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak weren't just talented. They were in the right environment, pushing each other. The early PayPal mafia: Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman. They went on to build Tesla, Palantir, LinkedIn, YouTube. Why? Proximity, shared vision, mutual elevation. Building relationships the 1% way. The 1% don't network, they connect. They don't go to events just to hand out business cards. They build trust, offer value, and play the long game. Here's how. Give before you take. The 1% are always offering help, introductions, feedback, and support, without expecting anything back immediately. This generosity compounds. Follow up and stay in touch. One meeting doesn't build a relationship. Consistent value does. They follow up thoughtfully and show they care. Make yourself useful. Be the person who solves problems, who gets things done, who connects others. That's how you become indispensable. Real-world story. How one connection changed Jordan's life. Jordan was a struggling designer, freelancing from coffee shops and barely getting by. One day, he joined a free online community of creatives. Instead of promoting himself, he gave value, offering feedback, tips, and encouragement. One of his comments caught the attention of a tech founder who was watching silently. A few months later, that same founder reached out, offering him a paid project. That project turned into a long-term contract, then an introduction to a major VC-backed company. Today, Jordan runs a multi-six-figure design firm, all from one connection, built through value and presence. Strategic relationship. Building the 1% aren't transactional. They think in decades, not days. They ask, who do I want to grow with? Who challenges me to think bigger? Who can I help, even if it takes years to pay off? They invest time in the right people. How to apply this today? Audit your circle. Who uplifts you? Who drains you? Reach out consistently. Send one genuine message per day to someone you admire or appreciate. Be a connector. Introduce people in your network who could help each other. Listen more than you talk. That's how you learn where you can add value. Final thought. The 1% know. Your net worth is often a reflection of your network. But more importantly, of your ability to create value in other people's lives. Don't just chase attention, build trust. Don't try to collect people, connect with them. Because one relationship, built right, can change everything. Chapter 7. The learning never stops. If you want to spot someone who's destined for greatness, look at their bookshelf. Look at their podcast queue. Look at the way they approach every problem, every failure, every uncomfortable situation. The 1% are obsessed with learning. They treat growth like oxygen. They know that the moment they stop learning, they stop evolving. And when you stop evolving, you quietly begin to fall behind. The school system versus real life in school. You're rewarded for memorization. You study for the test, pass it, and move on. But real life isn't a multiple-choice quiz. It's an ever-changing landscape that rewards curiosity, adaptability, and lifelong learning. The 1% don't wait for someone to assign them homework. They assign it to themselves every single day. The case of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the wealthiest and wisest investors of all time. His secret, he reads for 5 to 6 hours a day. Buffett once said, "The best investment you can make is in yourself, not stocks, not real estate. You." He attributes much of his success to a lifelong habit of reading and reflecting, and still makes learning a daily priority in his 90s. The 1% learn in every direction. They read books. They take courses. They hire coaches. But more importantly, they learn from mistakes. Every loss is a lesson. People, mentors, critics, competitors, patterns. They notice what works and what doesn't. Reflection. They constantly ask, what can I do better? Real life story. The dropout who outlearned the graduates. Tina didn't finish college. She struggled early in her career, but she made a decision that changed everything. She would become a learning machine. She read for 30 minutes a day, took weekend courses on marketing, studied case studies, followed top performers, and deconstructed what they did. Within 2 years, she went from receptionist to managing digital strategy for a major brand. Her edge wasn't a degree. It was her commitment to continuous learning. How to learn like the 1%. Block learning time. Daily, just 30 minutes a day adds up. Read a chapter. Watch a masterclass. Take notes. Study people, not just theory. Learn from real-world examples. What are top performers doing that you're not? Apply immediately. The 1% don't just consume. They implement. Information is useless without action. Ask better questions. Growth starts with curiosity. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what's the lesson here? Learn or be left behind. In today's world, industries are being disrupted overnight. Technology evolves in months, not years. Roles change. Entire skill sets become obsolete. Those who cling to what they already know get stuck. The 1% stay humble. They say, what got me here won't get me there. They treat learning like a competitive advantage, because it is. A final note, the average person consumes content to escape. The 1% consume content to advance. They know their brain is their greatest asset, and they feed it accordingly. Your challenge: start a learning ritual today. 1 book, 1 podcast, 1 article, every day. Because in a world where information is everywhere, the learners are the leaders. Chapter 8. Master the mind. Win the game before the 1% ever win in business, health, wealth, or impact. They win in the one place most people ignore: their mind. They know that success is first psychological. Because if you don't control your thoughts will control you. The real battlefield, the biggest battles, aren't happening in boardrooms, gyms, or social media. They're happening in silence, in the mind. In the quiet moments when self-doubt creeps in. When fear says, you're not ready. When shame whispers, you always mess it up. When uncertainty says, play it safe. The 1% hear those voices too, but they don't listen. Not because they're fearless, but because they've trained their minds like elite athletes train their bodies. Navy SEAL mentality. Navy SEALs have a saying, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable." These elite warriors undergo some of the most brutal training on Earth, not just to strengthen their bodies, but to master their minds under pressure. They train to push past panic, to stay focused in chaos, to override the brain's default fear responses. The 1% operate the same way. They build mental toughness so they can thrive in discomfort, while the 99% retreat. The two wolves. There's a classic story. An old Cherokee tells his grandson, "There are two wolves inside every person. One is fear, anger, and self-doubt. The other is courage, discipline, and strength. The one that wins is the one you feed." The 1% consciously feed the second wolf every single day. How the 1% train their minds. They question their thoughts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. The 1% challenge their limiting beliefs relentlessly. They ask, "Is this belief helping me or hurting me?" They use mental rehearsal. Top performers visualize success before it happens. Serena Williams sees the perfect serve before she hits it. CEOs rehearse big speeches in their heads. Entrepreneurs imagine their goals already achieved. The brain can't distinguish vividly imagined experience from real. It responds the same way. They practice self-command. The 1% don't wait to feel confident. They act confident. They use affirmations, breathing techniques, and posture to shift their mental state on demand. They create mental habits just like physical habits. You can train mental patterns. Gratitude over scarcity, focus over distraction, ownership over blame, possibility over panic. Real-life story. How Marcus beat the inner critic. Marcus, a rising entrepreneur, was crushing it on paper, but inside, he constantly second-guessed himself. Every pitch felt like an invitation for rejection. Every delay felt like personal failure. He began journaling daily, writing down his limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering truths. He read books on stoicism and neuroplasticity. He hired a coach to help him sharpen his inner dialogue. 6 months later, he was no longer at war with himself. And when the noise in his head quieted, his business exploded. Mental mastery is a daily practice. The 1% don't assume. Mindset is set and forget. They work on it every day, the same way others brush their teeth or hit the gym. Because they know, you can't outperform your mindset. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. You can't grow beyond what your mind believes is possible. Your challenge for the next 7 days: track your thoughts. Catch every moment of doubt, fear, or procrastination, and write it down. Then challenge it, replace it, rewire it. Because the mind, once trained, becomes your most unstoppable asset. Chapter 9. Time is the ultimate lever. If money is a renewable resource, time is not. Every billionaire, every CEO, every athlete, every struggling artist, you, me, and the entire 1% wake up each day with the same 24 hours. But what separates the 1% from everyone else is how they use those hours. They don't just manage time, they invest it. Time poverty versus time power. Most people live in time poverty, constantly reacting, putting out fires, multitasking, scrolling, rushing, and then wondering, where did the day go? The 1% live in time power. They're intentional with every minute, treating time as their most precious asset. They understand that how you use your hours determines the life you build. The story of Elon Musk's time-blocking. Love or hate him, Elon Musk is legendary for how he treats time. Running Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and more, Musk uses a method called time blocking, scheduling his day in 5-minute chunks. Meetings, emails, meals, even bathroom breaks. Everything has a place. It might sound extreme, but the result? Massive focus. Zero wasted time. Hyper-productivity across multiple billion-dollar ventures. The point isn't to copy his calendar, but to realize that every minute matters. Time is a mirror of priorities. Your calendar tells the truth about what you value. Say you want to start a business, but you spend 4 hours a night watching Netflix. Say you want to get fit, but there's no workout time in your schedule. The 1% don't say, I don't have time, they say. It's not a priority for me right now. And if that doesn't sit well, good. That's the mirror speaking. Real life story. Tamika's 90-day turnaround. Tamika was stuck. She had dreams of starting a coaching business, but her 9-to-5 drained her. By the time she got home, she felt like she had no energy left. Then she made one decision: track every hour for a week. What she found shocked her. Hours lost to phone scrolling, errands, distractions. She started waking up 90 minutes earlier, created focus blocks on weekends, and scheduled deep work sessions like appointments. 90 days later, she had clients, momentum, and confidence. The only thing that changed was how she used her time. How the 1% use time. They guard their mornings. The first few hours of the day are sacred. No emails, no meetings, just high-value thinking or creating. They batch and block. Similar tasks are grouped together. Emails in one block, calls in another. This minimizes cognitive switching, which drains focus. They say no. A lot. The 1% protect their time by declining invitations that don't align with their goals. Every yes to something mediocre is a no to something meaningful. They review weekly. Once a week, they reflect. What worked? What didn't? Where did time slip away? They use that feedback to adjust and sharpen. Time versus energy. The 1% also understand that time means nothing without energy. They align their most important tasks with their peak energy windows, usually in the morning or after a workout. They don't waste their best hours on low-level tasks. The $10,000 hour principle. Some tasks are worth $10 an hour. Others are worth $10,000. Folding laundry, $10 task. Closing a deal, $10,000 task. Writing your book, launching your product, preparing for an investor pitch. These are high-leverage hours. The 1% spend most of their time where it matters most. Your challenge this week: do a time audit. Write down everything you do for 3 days. Look at it honestly. Ask, what can I eliminate? What can I automate? What truly moves the needle? Then create a time map that reflects your highest goals, not your habits. Final thought: you can always make more money. You can always rebuild your brand. But you can never get back wasted time. Guard it. Leverage it. Live like it matters, because it does. Chapter 10. They play to win, not to avoid losing. Most people live life on defense. They tiptoe around risk, seek comfort, and play not to lose. But the 1%, they play to win. Not recklessly, but boldly, strategically, deliberately. They understand that real success doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from pursuing greatness, even when the path is uncertain. The psychology of playing small. From a young age, many are taught to stay safe. Don't rock the boat. Be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. This creates a default mindset of caution and containment. People shrink their dreams to fit their comfort zones. But the 1% reverse this. They stretch their comfort zones to fit their dreams. The Serena Williams approach. Serena Williams didn't become a champion by hoping her opponent would miss. She trained to hit winners, not wait for errors. She played with power, strategy, and purpose. The 1% approach life the same way. They aren't just avoiding mistakes, they're creating breakthroughs. Why the 99% fear risk? Most people don't fear failure. They fear judgment. They fear what others will say if they fail, look stupid, or fall short. So they stay small. They delay. They dream, but never move. The 1% know this fear. They just don't serve it. They've reframed failure as feedback and silenced the opinions that don't matter. Real life story. How Andre went all in. Andre was a talented software developer who played it safe for years in a comfortable corporate job. But deep down, he wanted to build something of his own. After months of indecision, he finally launched a small side project. It flopped. Instead of quitting, he doubled down, studied what went wrong, iterated, and launched again. This time he gained traction. A year later, he left his job and now runs a 7-figure tech business. If he'd played not to lose, he'd still be stuck. The 1% take calculated risks. Playing to win doesn't mean gambling blindly. It means making bold moves with clarity, preparation, and strategy. They ask, what's the upside if this works? What's the downside if I stay where I am? What can I learn from trying, even if I don't win the first time? The difference between winners and avoiders ask, what if I fail? Winners ask, what if I win bigger than I imagined? Avoiders hesitate. Winners start before they feel ready. Avoiders wait for certainty. Winners take action and create certainty over time. Shifting into offense mode, here's how to train yourself to play offense. Take one bold action weekly. Launch something. Pitch someone. Apply for that thing you don't feel qualified for. Practice micro-risk. Build your risk tolerance. Start small. Make a tough call. Share your work publicly. Raise your prices. Review your wins. Confidence compounds. Keep a wins list so you remember what happens when you act boldly. Reframe what losing means. You didn't fail. You learned. You refined. You moved forward while others stayed still. Mindset shift. You're already at risk. Think not taking risks is safe. Let me ask you this. Is staying in a job you hate really secure? Is waiting for permission really less risky than creating your own path? Is silence really safer than using your voice? Comfort is the riskiest strategy of all because it slowly costs you your potential. Your challenge: identify one area where you've been playing not to lose. This week, flip the script. Take one action that feels bold, slightly uncomfortable, slightly unreasonable, because the 1% don't wait to be ready, they get ready by moving. Chapter 11. Turning pain into power. Everyone feels pain. The betrayal, the loss, the failure, the rejection. But the 1% do something radically different with their pain. They turn it into fuel. Where others get crushed by adversity, the 1% use it as a catalyst. They don't just survive setbacks, they grow because of them. Pain is inevitable. What you do with it isn't. Life doesn't ask for your permission before it breaks your heart. It doesn't warn you before the job is taken away, the deal falls apart, or the relationship ends. But pain has a secret gift, one most people miss. It can wake you up. It can force you to evolve. It can unlock parts of you comfort never could. The 1% have learned to lean into the lesson. The story of Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, didn't grow up surrounded by success. His father was a truck driver who lost his job after a workplace injury. With no insurance, no safety net, and no support, the family spiraled into poverty. That pain shaped Howard. He later built Starbucks with a deep sense of mission, not just to serve coffee, but to create a company that cared for its workers in a way his father's employer never did. His pain became his purpose. Most people run from pain, they numb it, avoid it, bury it in distractions, scrolling, shopping, drinking, binging. But pain, when ignored, becomes poison. When faced, it becomes power. The 1% don't distract themselves from pain. They dive into it, study it, and extract the gold. Real-life story. Keisha's reinvention. Keisha lost her dream job during a wave of layoffs. She felt humiliated, furious, and afraid. At first, she spiraled. But one night, she asked herself, what if this isn't happening to me, but for me? That question changed everything. She used her severance to hire a coach, start a blog, and pursue an old passion. Writing within 18 months, she had a thriving career as a wellness author and speaker. Losing her job hurt, but it forced her to become the woman she had always wanted to be. How the 1% transform pain, they don't personalize it. Pain is real, but it's not proof that you're broken. The 1% separate pain from identity. They ask empowering questions instead of why me. They ask, what can I learn? Instead of what did I lose? They ask, what did I gain in resilience, wisdom, or clarity? They use pain as leverage. Pain creates urgency. It burns bridges to mediocrity. It clarifies what really matters. The 1% use that fire to make bold moves. They tell a new story. Painful experiences don't define them. They refine them. They refine them. They rewrite the narrative from victim to victor. Think of it like a gym. Pain is pressure, like a weight on your back. You can collapse under it or get stronger because of it. Growth never comes without resistance. The 1% don't like pain, but they respect it because they know it's shaping something powerful inside of them. Your challenge: look back at one of the most painful chapters of your life. Now ask, what strength did it give me? What did it show me about myself? How can I use that story to help others or fuel my mission? Then write it down. That pain may be your next breakthrough. Chapter 12. They never waste their struggles. The average person hides their struggle. They bury it, hoping no one will see. But the 1%, they do something completely different. They mine their struggle for wisdom, direction, and strength. And then they use it to elevate themselves and others. For them, struggle isn't something to escape. It's something to leverage. Pain isn't the end. It's the beginning. Struggles aren't detours. They are part of the path. Often, they are the path. The 1% understand this deeply. They don't just bounce back. They bounce forward. They ask, if I had to go through this, how can I make it mean something? They refuse to let their struggle be wasted. The story of Inky Johnson. Inky Johnson was a rising college football star on his way to the NFL until a life-threatening injury left his right arm paralyzed. His entire identity shattered in one moment. He could have stayed bitter, angry, defeated. But Inky made a decision. This didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Today, he's a world-renowned speaker, inspiring millions with the message that your struggle is your strength. If you choose to see it that way, his dream changed. His impact didn't. He didn't waste his struggle. He transformed it. The 1% turns setbacks into signals. Where most see failure, they see feedback. Where most see rejection, they see rejection. Where most give up, they extract meaning. They believe, if I'm going through hell, I'm not coming out empty-handed. They come out with more clarity, purpose, grit, and often a new mission. Real-life story. Elena's broken engagement. Elena thought she had it all figured out. Dream job, dream fiancé, dream life. Until her engagement ended unexpectedly. Devastated, she isolated herself for months. Then one night, she had a realization. I've been waiting for someone else to make me happy. It's time I learned to do that for myself. She took a solo trip. Signed up for a writing workshop. Started sharing her story online. Today, she helps thousands of women reclaim their power after heartbreak. Her deepest wound became her deepest contribution. The 1% ask better questions and struggle. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what can I do with this? They don't ask, how do I make the pain stop? They ask, how do I grow through this? They know struggle can break you open, or just break you. The difference is what you choose to do with it. Struggle is a mirror. It shows you who you are. Not the version you pretend to be, the version you become under pressure. The 1% welcome that mirror. They use it to see their flaws, confront their fears, and upgrade their inner world. Your struggle is someone else's survival guide. This is the most powerful truth of all. Your struggle isn't just about you. Someone out there needs your story, needs your insight, needs your voice to help them find theirs. But they'll never receive it if you hide it. The 1% know this, and that's why they share their journey before it's perfect. They know impact image. Your challenge: think of a struggle you've survived. Now ask yourself, what did it teach me? How can I share what I learned to help someone else? Then share it. With a friend, a post, a journal, a stage. Because your most painful chapter could become someone else's survival map. Chapter 13. The 1% don't chase success. They build identity. Most people think success is about goals. But the 1% understand a deeper truth. You don't get your goals, you get your identity. The results you see are a reflection of who you believe you are. They don't just do high-level things. They become the kind of person who naturally does those things. Success then becomes inevitable, not because of willpower, but because of identity alignment. Goals versus identity. Here's what most people do. Goal: I want to lose 20 pounds. Behavior: work out for a few weeks. Identity: still see themselves as someone who hates the gym. That identity always wins. That person will sabotage their own results, even subconsciously, because deep down, it doesn't feel like them. Now look at the 1%. Identity: I'm an athlete. Behavior: training is just something they do. Result: they stay fit, not because of a short-term goal, but because it's who they are. When identity leads, results follow. Real story. Muhammad Ali and identity. Muhammad Ali didn't say, "I want to be the greatest." He said, "I am the greatest." I said that even before I knew I was. He declared the identity first, then backed it up with action, belief, and effort, until the world caught up. This is how champions are made. Not by waiting to feel ready, but by choosing who they are and aligning their life accordingly. Power of identity scripts. Every one of us lives by an inner script. I'm not good with money. I always quit things. I'm bad at relationships. I'm just not creative. I'm a finisher. I'm someone who figures things out. The 1% are intentional about these scripts. They edit them, rewrite them, and consciously adopt identities that support their future. Real life story. Derek, the ex-smoker Derek, had tried to quit smoking 6 times. Each time, he said, "I'm trying to quit." The identity: still a smoker. Then one day, a friend offered him a cigarette. Derek said, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." That one shift changed everything. From then on, his actions aligned with his new identity. He didn't just quit a habit, he became someone new. How to build a 1% identity. Choose who you want to be, don't just set goals. Define the type of person who achieves those goals. Ask, what would a disciplined person do here? What would a CEO think right now? Align daily actions. Your habits are a vote for your identity. Every time you show up, even for 5 minutes, you reinforce who you're becoming. Speak the identity into existence. Use I am statements with intention. I am a creator. I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start. I'm calm under pressure. Your brain will work to make these beliefs true. Audit and upgrade. Catch yourself when you speak from an old script. Replace it with the new one, relentlessly, repeatedly, until it sticks. The compound effect of identity. Once your identity aligns with your vision, effort becomes automatic. You no longer need to push yourself as much, because the behaviors become who you are. That's why the 1% don't burn out trying to achieve all the time. They embody success. It becomes natural. Your challenge: write down 3 I am identity statements that support your next level. Say them every day. Post them somewhere you'll see them. Then back them up with daily votes, tiny actions that prove they're true. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You rise, or fall, to the level of your identity. Chapter 14. The 1% focus on process, not just outcome. Everyone wants the result. They want the transformation, the 6-figure launch, the dream body, the standing ovation. But the 1%, they fall in love with the process. They know that outcomes are byproducts. The real power lies in what you do daily, especially when no one's watching. Why goals aren't enough. Goals are important. But goals can also create anxiety, frustration, and burnout. Why? Because they're external. They're out of your full control. You can't control whether your video goes viral, or if the publisher accepts your book, or if the job offer comes through. But what you can control is your process, how often you create, how consistently you show up, how much effort you put in, regardless of external validation. Story: Stephen King's writing ritual. Stephen King writes 2,000 words a day, every single day, birthday, holidays, rain or shine. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He doesn't write when he feels like it. He honors the process. And that's why he's written over 60 novels. His success wasn't built on chasing bestsellers. It was built on showing up, day after day, in private, before the public ever took notice. Process creates freedom. When you obsess over the outcome, you live in anxiety. But when you commit to the process, you live in flow. The 1% know this: if I master the process, the outcome will take care of itself. They set goals, yes, but then they detach emotionally from them and fall in love with the system that will get them there. Real-life story. Jamal the musician. Jamal wanted to land a record deal. For years, he bounced from project to project, obsessing over what would go big. Nothing did. Then he changed his mindset. He started creating one song every week, no matter what. He posted consistently, refined his sound, and stopped chasing the algorithm. Within 6 months, a producer found him. Within a year, he had over 500,000 monthly listeners. He stopped chasing the deal and started honoring the process. Building a process-driven mindset. Define your process metrics. Focus on what you do, not what you get. Number of pitches, sent words, written clients, served workouts, completed. Track consistency, not just results. Use a habit tracker. Gamify consistency. Reward yourself for showing up, not just for hitting milestones. Celebrate progress, not perfection. A lot of people quit because they're not perfect. The 1% keep going because they recognize progress is the goal. Create rituals that support the work. Rituals make the process automatic. Morning routines. Time blocking. Pre-work meditation. Systems beat motivation every time. What process focus actually feels like? It feels lighter, more empowering, less desperate, less attached. You create because it's who you are. You act without waiting for applause. And ironically, that's when the applause comes. Your challenge: take one of your biggest goals. Now forget the outcome. Ask, what's the process that, if followed daily, would guarantee this result over time? What would it look like to love the process, even if no one ever saw the outcome? Then start tomorrow. No more waiting for perfection. Just daily practice, quietly building power. Chapter 15. The 1% make discipline their default. Most people rely on motivation. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the right time. They wait until they're in the mood. The 1%, they don't wait. They move. They build discipline into their identity. So they act even when they don't feel like it. For them, discipline is freedom, not punishment, not pressure. Power. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a muscle. Motivation is inconsistent. It rises and falls like the tide. But discipline, it's dependable, predictable, trainable. The 1% don't ask, do I feel like it today? They ask, what needs to be done? And then they do it. Cold, tired, scared, busy, or bored. The David Goggins mentality. David Goggins, former Navy SEAL and ultra-endurance athlete, wasn't born mentally tough. He was overweight, bullied, broken, but he made a decision to become uncommon. He started running, lifting, reading, rebuilding. Not because he felt like it, but because he refused to stay the same. Today, he's run over 60 ultramarathons and pushed his body beyond what most people believe is humanly possible. Goggins doesn't live by motivation. He lives by discipline and identity. Real-life story. Sophia's rise. Sophia was a burned-out executive who wanted to write her first book. For years, she waited for the perfect time. She'd write when things settled down. They never did. Then she made one shift. Write 500 words a day, no matter what. Some days it flowed. Some days it didn't. But she showed up anyway. 6 months later, her book was finished. Discipline, not motivation, made it real. The discipline formula: start tiny. Stay consistent. Discipline doesn't mean giant, heroic effort. It means repeated small wins. The 1% know that 15 minutes every day beats 3 hours once a month. Environment over willpower. Willpower fades. The 1% shape environments that support discipline. Removing distractions, setting visual cues, and surrounding themselves with high-standard people. Identity-driven habits. The 1% don't say, "I have to do this." They say, "This is just what I do." The gym is part of their day. Reading is part of their routine. Focus is their default. Discomfort becomes normal. They get used to doing things they don't want to do, not because they're masochists, but because they've realized comfort is a trap. Growth lives in discomfort. What discipline actually feels like. It's not always pretty. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it feels like no one notices. But then, you wake up and realize you've built momentum. You trust yourself more. You don't break promises to yourself anymore. That's power. Discipline is a skill, not a trait. No one is born with it. The 1% weren't just built different. They built themselves, brick by brick, rep by rep, choice by choice. And you can too. Your challenge: pick one behavior you know would change your life. Writing, working out, journaling, learning, creating. Now, shrink it down to something stupidly small. 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of writing, 1 page of reading. Do it every day for 30 days. No matter what. Because once you trust yourself to show up consistently, you become unstoppable. Chapter 16. The 1% are future-driven, not emotion-driven. Most people let their emotions steer the ship. They wake up tired and skip their goals. They feel overwhelmed and procrastinate. They get discouraged and give up. But the 1%, they don't live in the moment's mood. They live for the future they want to create. They understand. Emotions are temporary, but vision lasts. The emotional roller coaster trap. Emotions are powerful, but they are also fleeting and often misleading. You might feel unmotivated now, but in 6 months, you could be thriving. You might feel scared to start, but fear is often a sign you're growing. The 1% don't deny their feelings. They acknowledge them and then choose to act anyway. Story: Jeff Bezos' long-term vision. Jeff Bezos famously built Amazon with a long-term mindset. He told shareholders to expect years of losses while focusing on customer experience and growth. Many investors got impatient, but Bezos stuck to his vision because he was future-driven, not emotion-driven. Today, Amazon is one of the most valuable companies in the world. Future focus creates resilience when you're anchored in a compelling vision. Setbacks become temporary blips instead of roadblocks. The 1% keep their eyes on the horizon, knowing that present struggles serve future success. Real-life story: Mia's vision over fear. Mia wanted to start her own bakery, but was paralyzed by fear and doubt. Instead of waiting for the right feeling, she wrote a detailed vision of her bakery 3 years from now. Smelling fresh bread, bustling with happy customers. She reread that vision every morning, especially on hard days. That vision kept her moving, even when emotions screamed to stop. How to become future-driven: create a clear vision. Write down what you want your life to look like 1, 3, and 5 years from now. Use visual and emotional anchors. Find images, quotes, or experiences that connect you emotionally to your future. Build EF then plans. Prepare for emotional dips with strategies. If I feel discouraged, then I'll call my accountability partner. If I want to quit, then I'll review my vision. Practice patience. Remind yourself that growth is a marathon, not a sprint. Your challenge: write down your future vision in vivid detail. Then, each morning, spend 2 minutes reminding yourself of that future. When emotions threaten to pull you off track, reconnect with your vision and act anyway. Chapter 17. How the 1% build unshakable habits. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They shape your days, your mindset, and ultimately your destiny. The 1% don't rely on willpower alone. They build unshakable habits that keep them moving forward, even when motivation fades or life gets chaotic. Why habits matter more than motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It can ignite a fire, but it won't keep it burning. Habits are the steady fuel, small actions repeated consistently that compound over time into massive results. Charles Duhigg, author of The Power of Habit, calls habits the brain's way of saving effort. The 1% harness this science to work smarter, not harder. The habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. Every habit follows a loop. Cue, a trigger that starts the behavior. Routine, the behavior itself. Reward, the payoff your brain craves. The 1% designed this loop consciously to build new habits or change old ones. Story. James Clear and Atomic Habits. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, transformed his own life after a serious injury by focusing on tiny daily improvements. He found that 1% improvements compound exponentially, turning small, consistent actions into extraordinary outcomes. This is the core of how the 1% approach habit build. Real-life story. How Lisa built a writing habit. Lisa wanted to write a book, but struggled to start. Instead of forcing herself to write for hours, she committed to writing one sentence a day. Sounds small, but that one sentence created momentum. Soon, she was writing pages daily without feeling overwhelmed. How the 1% build habits that stick. Start tiny break habits into the smallest possible steps. Instead of I'll meditate for 20 minutes, start with 1 minute. Start with 1 minute. Anchor to existing habits. Attach new habits to current ones. For example, after brushing your teeth, do 5 push-ups. Make it easy and obvious. Reduce friction. Put your workout clothes out the night before. Use reminders or alarms. Create immediate rewards. Celebrate small wins. Check off a box. Say yes to yourself. Track progress. Use a journal or app to visualize streaks and keep motivation high. Habits are your identity in action. Every habit is a vote for the person you want to become. The 1% see habits as daily proof of their identity, and they guard them fiercely. Your challenge: choose one habit that would move your life forward. Break it down into the tiniest possible action. For the next 30 days, commit to doing that tiny habit every day, no exceptions. Watch how those small steps transform your mindset, your confidence, and your results. Chapter 18. Why the 1% never stop learning. The moment you think you know it all is the moment you start falling behind. The 1% don't just chase success. They chase growth. They never stop. They never stop being curious. They never stop learning because they know the world is always changing, and the only way to stay ahead is to keep evolving. Lifelong learning is a superpower. Think of the most successful people you admire. Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, Warren Buffett. They read books, take courses, seek mentors, and absorb new ideas every day. Warren Buffett spends about 80% of his day reading. Oprah is constantly learning new skills and perspectives. The 1% make learning a daily habit, fueling their creativity, adaptability, and resilience. The story of Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin wasn't born a genius. He became one through relentless curiosity and study. He created a 13 virtues list to improve himself, kept detailed journals, and sought knowledge in all areas, from science to diplomacy. His lifelong commitment to learning shaped his impact as a founding father, inventor, and thought leader. Real-life story. Rachel's career transformation. Rachel worked in retail for years, but dreamed of becoming a graphic designer. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, she signed up for online courses, watched tutorials, and practiced daily. Within 2 years, she landed a job in design and doubled her income. Her secret? Never stopping learning. How the 1% make learning a habit. Read regularly. Books, articles, research. Consume knowledge that pushes your boundaries. Seek feedback. They welcome criticism as a tool for growth, not a personal attack. Surround themselves with learners. Community matters. They engage with mentors, peers, and coaches who challenge them. Apply what they learn. Knowledge without action is wasted effort. The 1% immediately put learning into practice. Your challenge: commit to learning something new every day, whether a chapter of a book, a podcast episode, or a skill practice. Keep a growth journal to record insights and how you'll apply them. Remember, the 1% aren't born smarter, they simply keep learning smarter. Subscribe for clear, consistent guidance to help you grow with purpose.